Hello and welcome to episode 7 of my Kerbal Space Program Realistic Space Program series. Mission Control Extended is no more. I am flying without budgets. I couldn't quite get it to work the way I was hoping it would, so it had to go. Otherwise I was going to be spending many more videos just flying around Kerbin and launching cookie cutter missions just to recoup the payout. I imagine it, like I said previously, being much better in sandbox mode, where you don't have to collect science, and it will really be the main limiting factor in what you're trying to accomplish. What I'm trying to do with this video series, it just wasn't up to what I was hoping I could do with it, so it is no more. But it's allowed me to build this massively overbuilt, monstrous rocket, which 5 mainsails and way too much fuel. I was basically burning fuel just to lift fuel. My actual Apollo rocket ended up much more efficient. But this is an Apollo 8 analog, where we fly out to the moon, do an orbit, and collect some science. And in planning this maneuver, I tried to do something that the real Apollo missions, well, I say try, I do it on all the missions. It's very simple to set up, but I burn, so that I set my periaps on my Mooner encounter to 0 or less than 0, so that my transfer stage will smack into it and not get kicked out into space or just clutter things up. In a later save, I have installed Interstellar so I can use the seismic package. I do not know at this stage if I'm going to use some of the more advanced tech in that mod. It's really outside the scope of what I'm trying to accomplish here. But the seismic collectors being such a big part of the Apollo program, I felt it kind of pointless to leave them out. So we'll see. I believe Interstellar has a Vasimir analog, which is a variable specific impulse engine under development. It can be run in high thrust, low ISP mode, and low thrust, high ISP mode for different usage. I'll see what comes of it. I'm probably not going to get into beamed power or any of the more... I know I'm not going to get into warp tech. This series is going to end at kind of a near future level of technology, which raises the question why I didn't use the near future pack, and the answer to that question is I really don't know. I've used it in the past and I really like the aesthetic. It looks a lot like, the parts look a lot like the animations they had in the early 2000s of what the Constellation program would be. So, but Interstellar is what I have the most experience with as far as the wilder mods go. But back to this maneuver, I set that periaps to 0, and I ejected my Apollo CSM wannabe, and used its RCS to lift the periaps back up to an acceptable level, or a non-lethal level. And from that point on, I'll just show what the end effect of that, setting that maneuver up like that was. As a neat little bonus, because my transfer stage is actually going much faster, or not much faster, but significantly faster than my command module, I can show you what my maneuver actually accomplished. There's Kerbin in all her glory. Oh, that was a little aggressive. Here we go. And this was actually a maneuver the real Apollo missions did. I don't think 11 did it, and some of them, I believe they might have missed their burn by a couple meters a second, and their booster stages missed. But a large portion of the geological science we know about the moon came from this, because we had a seismometer set by previous missions, and these thumping into the planet, like so, I keep saying planet, into the moon, would send a seismic shock throughout the entire body. And as I think I've said before, using the data from the seismometers, how long it took those shock waves to get to a certain point, a lot was able to be learned about the composition of the interior of the moon. And because that one actually got destroyed, I have to go back to the Space Center to switch over. Minor inconvenience. Let's start doing some science. Do crew report from high. Send Jeb on an EVA. I'm gonna go ahead and observe that. When I return this, I will finally get that last bit of science. I'm going to save that for low orbit. I don't think I can do a temperature scan. Nope. Alright. Set the boys up for a circularization burn. Or capture, more accurately. Just futz around with this so I get total accuracy. Oh. Come on. That'll be close enough. Be a 35-second burn with this engine. Drifting close. I think the highest peaks on the moon are about 10,000 meters high. So at this altitude I should be getting close, but not... Oh no, I'll be well in the clear here. Fire up my giant RCS nozzle, which is the service motor. Service propulsion system, I'm sorry. See how this progresses. Well, 15. We're going to call that good. Now to start collecting our orbital science. Just doing a quick EVA to start collecting my low orbit science. And I don't have a multispectral scan done to show me all the different biomes. But this map itself, the low resolution altimetry, is actually useful for finding different biomes to fly over. So, sent Jeb out on his first EVA. And sent him back out to collect the other data. And I ran into a problem with my temperature sensor with the thermometer. It kept... Jeb apparently really liked it and kept trying to grab it and take it home with him. Instead of collecting the data from it. So I kept grabbing it and releasing it and finally stuck it to another part of the module just so it'd be out of the way. And sent him back in and got ready for sunset. And decided to take some time out from all this science gathering to just kind of admire the view. And that famous Earthrise photo was taken during Apollo 8. It's the first, I think it was the first Earthrise photo ever taken. This is obviously the Earth setting, so not entirely similar. And this is back to the business of sciencing. It was very hard to see what features I was flying over at night, funnily enough. So I had to... it didn't dawn on me until a little bit after this that I could actually use my altimetry map to pick out surface features that indicated biome changes. So I figured that I would just float around through the night and get biome science again in the morning, but I started floating around and then noticed the map and decided to make use of that, because if I turn on the map module on the ship, I could see where my orbit crossed, and that allowed me to note when I was passing over a major feature, and I could send somebody out on an EVA to gather more science. So ScanSat and previously ISA MapSat, ISA MapSat was one of my favorite mods of all time, because it was, before remote tech, it was pretty much the only thing that gave unmanned probes any type of purpose, unless you just wanted to plunk something down and not risk losing a Kerbal that would inevitably respawn anyway. But that's neither here nor there. And it's just kind of cool. I like the feeling of mapping a body before I land on it. So, but just following my little capsule across the planet, across the moon. I keep saying planet, and someday I might actually stop doing that. But get my return trajectory planned out. When you're returning from the moon, you want to fire retrograde to your rotation around Kerbin, which depending on how you come in, to this meant burning to Kerbin's west, I believe, as I came over. And I try to set my periaps to about 40 or 30 right off the bat, so I don't have to. If everything goes well, things shift during an SOI change, but if everything goes perfectly well, then you don't have to worry about losing, about doing any other burns. You're safely on your way home. You'll get captured and not burn up, even at 3,000 meters a second. I'm sorry. Even at 3,000 meters a second, you will safely return, not burn up your heat shield or over-G your crew and lose them. But this was a pretty interesting return because I waited so long to eject my service module. I actually I passed periaps and started to gain altitude, much like the real Apollo pods did on re-entry, only theirs was an aerodynamic effect. This was just a factor of velocity and altitude, not anything with getting lift. But it skips up into the atmosphere, which reduces the heating on the heat shield, and then it couldn't get high enough to actually break free again, so it fell back down, providing braking force. Staged my parachutes too high, which meant I had to right-click and arm them manually. But if you ignore that hard boundary on the cloud bitmap in the distance, the volumetric clouds are just absolutely gorgeous. Finally get the boys home, and do not time accelerate before real chutes deploy. They won't rip off, but you won't slow down in time. Alright, with that collected, while I would love to go straight to large control so I could get my Mark II lander can, which is pretty much the onlyest next thing I need, I can't quite do that because I don't have any docking nodes. And without a docking node, the whole mission becomes impossible the way I fly them. So I'm going to unlock specialized construction for 160, and I will fly another mission to get what I'm missing in order to get back up to 300. And I'm going to break from tradition of unlocking each tier as I go, because this is pretty much the last required piece, I believe, for what I'm after here. Before I send a manned mission back to the moon, I wanted to get a full multispectral scan done, which will give me a map of the different biomes I'm running into. And that'll help me kind of pick and plan my landing sites, much like NASA did before deciding where they would set a... Apollo landing sites were based on what they presumed from what they knew about a certain area, which locations would give them more interesting science returns. So I cut out the launch for this one. It's just a boring Mooner transfer. You've seen one, you've seen them all. Just getting this into position, lining up, basic satellite with static panels, nothing fancy. Start the scan, and with it complete, I'm going to show you the biome map, and I am using custom biomes, but they haven't changed much around on the moon, which is good. I don't have to relearn a lot. But this area right here, there's a couple biomes within very close range of one another, and that could really result in a good science hole if I could put something down there. I forgot to transmit the science from that multispectral scan, but it gave me a grand total of 60, so I'm only 100 points away from being able to unlock my lander can. So, that's fun. And with that mission concluded, I decided to send my, I guess, Apollo 9 around Minmus. Wanted to collect some science from that, and that will unlock enough to get my lander built so I can proceed with the Apollo program proper. It's just a very simple mission, pretty much identical to the last one, except I do go into polar orbit. I was originally thinking of going just equatorial, but it dawned on me halfway through my attempt to circularize that probably be more effective to just go into a polar orbit and catch every biome as it goes through. Did something slightly different to ensure the destruction of my transfer stage, because I'm not quite good at I'm not very good at hitting Minmus exactly yet. So I got myself into orbit, set my periaps down, ejected it, and then raised it back up. But this is about the time where I start trying to change my plane. I was trying to set Kerbin as a target so I get an ascending and descending node, which doesn't quite work like that. And then it dawned on me a polar orbit would probably be more useful. So I line everybody up and get ready for that burn. Ran out of electrical charge, but I still had RCS. Those static panels don't have quite enough juice to keep up with the power draw of a remote tech comms dish. But the rest of this mission will be in the next video. Until then, thank you for watching.